those on the line and those that are joining us here in person today. My name is Steve Nguyen. I'm with the Yammer product team. I have some of my colleagues here as well. We've been going around and visiting several customers in the region, so it's been fun. It's been fun to talk with people and help people understand where we're going with Yammer, what our vision and roadmap is. So that's primarily what we want to cover today, is just make sure that you are up to speed with the latest that we have to offer from a Yammer perspective, and that you have an understanding of where a lot of our investments are being made from a Yammer perspective. We have people monitoring the chat, so if you have questions along the way, please feel free to put those in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer those, or for those in the room, feel free to ask questions at any time. We want to make sure this time is valuable for you. So here's a quick agenda of what we'll run through. We'll talk about Yammer's mission and our vision, kind of how we've gotten to where we are today. We'll talk about our deeper integration with Office 365 and what we're doing with Yammer and Office 365, and then we'll talk a bit about other things that we're working on the roadmap. And then I'd like to end usually with some tips and tricks for adoption and how you can think about if you're working with customers that need help getting started with Yammer, what are some things you can start to do. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. So for those of you that are familiar with Yammer and have been working with Yammer for a long time, perhaps you understand how it can impact a culture and how it can transform an organization. And when I think about Yammer and I look at across the Office 365 suite, it's my belief that Yammer is perhaps the most transformational workload within Office 365. Because when you think about, for example, email and Outlook, people generally know how to email, people know how to calendar. But when it comes to Yammer and what Yammer brings to an organization with respect to connecting people across an organization and creating a network within an organization, there aren't many tools within Office 365 that allow an organization to do that. And that's why we believe that Yammer is a very transformational piece within Office 365. And we have a lot of customer examples to support that. And we recently published this case study with Sanofi. Sanofi is one of the world's largest manufacturers of vaccines. They pride themselves in creating solutions that save people's lives. I like to highlight the last sentence in a purple box, where Celine from Sanofi says, "Using our powerful network, we have created a sense of ownership in our collective mission to save more lives." They're actually using Yammer in such a way that their building operators are sharing best practices, they're sharing new ideas, and they're doing it in such a way that it contributes to their business and it contributes to saving people's lives. An example that Celine shares in her case study is they had a building operator that had an idea to save, that would reduce the amount of waste that's produced in the manufacturing of a certain product. And so he had this idea, he posted it to Yammer, other people started to build on his idea, and they started to kind of refine and build on the idea. And after a while, they created this new process that helped to reduce waste, and it ended up saving the company over $100,000 US per year. And then they were able to take that and replicate it to other buildings, other facilities. So we love examples like that, where Yammer is not just a social place for people, but a place where people are talking about real business outcomes and measuring business outcomes in real dollars. And Yammer has also ignited movements in the way that people work. So there's a movement called Responsive Org that started about 4 or 5 years ago that really is around helping companies be more responsive and be more open in the way that they communicate with their customers, their employees. Responsive Org is something that grew from something that was really small about 4 to 5 years ago to something that this past year in San Francisco, they held their first annual responsive org conference where about 1,500 or so people came from around the globe to talk about what does it mean for a company to work in a different way, for a company to be more responsive, to perhaps break out of their organizational hierarchical structure and be more of a networked organization. So responsive org is something that we've seen grow. Working out loud is another movement that we've seen grow, where working out loud is really about helping people understand the importance, the benefits of narrating their work and letting more people into seeing the work that project teams are doing or work that individuals are doing. So Yammer's had a big part in that as well. We also like to share that Yammer is growing at a faster rate than it ever has in its history. So for those of you that are familiar, Microsoft acquired Yammer back in about 2012, and the growth that we're seeing today is even faster than the growth from when Yammer was just a startup. So more people have access to Yammer, more people are using Yammer today than ever before. So if you're ever worried about Yammer going away or Yammer's, if Yammer is going to stick around, rest assured, Yammer is here to stay. We're making lots of investments. We'll talk about more of that later on, but lots of growth from a Yammer perspective. And over the past 12 to 18 months, these are this is just a sampling of a lot of the things that we've delivered and shipped within the product. There's lots of product innovations that have also helped to drive that growth that we just saw. And we're hiring. So we have about 30 open headcount within the Yammer product team, everything from engineering to product to marketing. So lots of investment in hiring people that can help us build a lot of the things that I'll show you that we're working on the roadmap. So again, much great investment happening from a people perspective as well. So Yammer's mission has really always been around connecting people and information and helping people to be able to make better decisions faster. Hopefully people working in such a way that they're sharing information in a more open and transparent environment. The challenge with that we've seen is that over time, what some people have done is they take their notions of consumer social and they apply it to their enterprise social, and that's not always appropriate. And so, as an example, this is a quote from one of Facebook's product managers, where he stated that Facebook curates 2,000 stories a day for every user. And if you think about what Facebook is trying to do, they're trying to maximize eyeballs within their application. They're trying to keep people engaged within the feed as much as possible. And the same goes for things like Twitter and Pinterest and Facebook. If you think about when you're scrolling through your feed and you scroll and you scroll and you scroll and you never really get to the end, right? They're trying to keep you there. From a Yammer perspective, yes, we want Yammer to be something that's familiar to people. We want people to be able to interact with it in an easy way, but we also want it to be a place that people can be productive, that they can come in, get the information they need, and move on. So as an example, when you come into Yammer today and you have groups that you're a member of, we show you the number of messages that have been posted since the last time you were there. So there might be 5 messages, and as you scroll through your group, if you scroll through, let's say, 3 messages, that message count decrements to 2. Versus if you think about your consumer social experience, if you have a notification bell of 10, you click on it and it's blown away. But we want to maintain that message count so that you know that there are messages there, so that your colleagues know that those are messages that they want you to see, they want you to react to. So we want people to be able to go in and get information they need and then be able to move on. The other thing that we've learned over time with regards to how people have used Yammer is a lot of times when companies first start using Yammer, they use Yammer for things that are on the left-hand side. So they use it for kind of a bulletin board or a water cooler. It's this place where social conversations happen. Maybe they start by doing some what we call Yam Jams, or maybe you've heard of Ask Me Anythings or AMAs that you might do with executives. And they're measuring kind of vanity metrics, things like likes and posts and replies. And those are okay. It's not to say that those are bad things, because they do drive a certain amount of employee morale within an organization. But where we've really seen companies take advantage of Yammer and really get a lot of benefit and a lot of value out of Yammer is when they're using Yammer for things on the right-hand side. So they've used Yammer to replace an existing process, and they're using Yammer in really deep, meaningful, multi-way collaboration. And they're not just measuring clicks and likes, but they're measuring actual business outcomes. So very similar to the Sanofi example that I mentioned earlier, where they measured success in the dollars that were saved because of the information that was shared on Yammer. So those are instances where they've really seen the use of Yammer transform the business. And so it's not to say that the left side is bad or wrong, but really what we're trying to help our customers understand is that in order to get the true meaningful value out of Yammer, the things on the right-hand side are really the places that transform the way organizations work. Now, yesterday, you may have heard or you may have seen that we released Microsoft Teams, or Microsoft Teams went GA yesterday. And Teams, we believe, has a really strong place within the Office 365 suite. But oftentimes what happens is people kind of get stuck in, well, when will I use Teams? When will I use Yammer? When will I use email? So that's a very common question, and I want to address that here. There was a partner that wrote a blog post not too long ago about a study that was done called the 50-meter rule. And what the 50-meter rule stated was that whether it was email or whether it was phone or whether it was chat, you generally interacted in those mediums and those channels with people that were about 50 meters in physical proximity to you. You generally didn't break out much more than 50 meters when you were interacting with people. But they actually took that study and they applied it within an organization, and they found that that was largely true. That people that were interacting the people that an organization interacted with largely within 50 meters, they still used email, phone, and chat. But the thing was that Yammer broke that rule. Yammer was the one tool out of all of those that really allowed people to connect outside of that 50-meter radius. So Yammer was this place that allowed people to connect regardless of geographical location. And so I kind of built on that, and I wrote a blog post called "Among Email and Teams, Yammer Still Has Its Place." You can search for it; it's out there. And I make a little bit more of a case for why Yammer is still an important piece of the Office 365 stack, and where it fits in. And so when you think about email and you think about things like Teams and you think about group chats, there's a requirement built in to those applications. So when you think about email, there's a requirement of addressability. I have to know that a certain person exists in order for that message to get to somebody and in order for me to get a response to that. When I send a text message, I have to know the person's phone number, right? Or if there's a group chat, there's a group of people that I'm depending on to get an answer to a question. Versus Yammer is this place where you may not necessarily know who has the information that you need. You may not necessarily know who might need to know the information that you have. And so the analogy that I like to use a lot is that just because in my personal life I have email and I might have WhatsApp, for things like group chat, but in the middle, I still have a place for Facebook and Twitter and for LinkedIn for me to connect to a broader network. So tools like email and group chat, or Outlook groups and Teams, we feel like those are still going to be really strong applications for existing teams. They'll really help existing teams be stronger. But when you need to break out of that, and you need to connect to a broader network, you need to connect to a broader group of people, Yammer is definitely the place where you'll do that within Office 365. I'll pause there. Does because that question comes up a lot, I want to just pause and see, does that make sense? Is that helpful? Do you have any questions about that? Anything online? Okay, I'll keep going, but feel free to interrupt if you do have any questions at all. So oftentimes as we go around and we meet with customers, we're always interested in learning from customers and from partners how they're using Yammer. But oftentimes we get the question back, how is Microsoft using Yammer? So I want to just take a few minutes and talk about how Microsoft uses Yammer, and hopefully it also helps continue to make the distinction for where you might use Yammer or where you might help your customers use Yammer. So within our Microsoft Yammer network, we have a group called CEO Connection, and this is the place that Satya uses to communicate with the hundreds of thousands of employees within Microsoft. He'll go out there. Most recently, one of his posts was around the immigration policy, the immigration controversy that's happening within the United States. He came to Yammer and posted his thoughts on it, and people from all over Microsoft were going in and replying. We also use the CEO Connection group in conjunction with our employee town halls. So Satya every month has an employee town hall where he takes questions and answers. We connect the CEO Connection group up to Skype broadcasts. So during the actual broadcast, people can post their questions. They can communicate live with Satya during the town hall. The team will also send out links to the CEO Connection group before the event, asking for people to post questions and so forth. So the CEO Connection is a great place if you want to be able to connect your executives connect executives within an organization and kind of flatten the organization so that people have access to leadership within an organization. The other example that I really like to share, especially as it relates to kind of where does Yammer fit in with Microsoft Teams, is that the Microsoft Teams team within within Microsoft itself has a Yammer group. They use a Yammer group within our network to collect feedback. So as they were previewing Microsoft Teams, they used this group internally at Microsoft to collect feedback. Obviously, they could have collected feedback using email, but we all know how cumbersome that could be. It would have been difficult to collect feedback within Teams itself because number one, there's a limit on the number of people that can be within it, but it's also kind of chatty, so it wouldn't have been appropriate. So in this case, Yammer becomes a really good place for large groups of people to be able to share feedback about, in this case, a product or perhaps about a new process that you might be introducing to the organization. And it's not just Microsoft Teams that does this. Many other product groups within Microsoft use Yammer as a way to collect feedback. So the connection I want to make between the CEO Connection group and the Microsoft Teams group is that it's this place where we don't necessarily know where questions are going to come from. We don't necessarily know where feedback is going to come from. So Yammer becomes this great place for people to provide that feedback and for others to build on ideas that are generated. Sprinkler is a social media application that Microsoft uses. So, for things like Twitter, the Office 365 Twitter account, for example, or our Facebook presence, we use the Sprinkler application to manage our social media presence. So it's an external provider that we work with. But in this case, this is an external group that we use to be able to collaborate with the Sprinkler vendor. And so the vendor they'll post updates into this group about new features or updates, or if there's downtime that we need to be aware of. They'll post links to training or videos about their product. But it's a great way for Microsoft employees who are active users of the Sprinkler application to interact with this external vendor. And this is another example of an external network. Indigo Slate is a partner that we're working with to develop some new marketing materials. And so we use an external group to share scripts and share documents and presentations and video files. It's a great way for us to be able to collaborate with external parties. The thing that was great about this particular example for us was that one of our team members had gone on leave for about a month. But in the meantime, all the activity was still happening within that group. All the files were still being shared. And when he came back from leave, he was able to just kind of sift through the group and go through the feed and get caught up on what had happened in the time that he was gone. He didn't have to kind of go through his email inbox and connect email threads together. Everything was kind of nicely manicured in a Yammer group. This is another example of an external partners that are a member of this group as well, to provide updates on what we're doing from a Yammer perspective. We often post in here things that we're shipping, tests that we're running. Customers will connect with one another to talk about things that they're seeing within their Yammer environment. So if this is something that you're interested in being a part of, you can provide us with your email address and we're happy to add you to this group. We oftentimes will publish we'll publish things that we're deploying, as sometimes things that aren't necessarily on the public roadmap. So if you're interested in getting our service updates, let us know your email address and we can add you to this. And then the last example is the Yammer Marketing Ninjas. So myself, I'm a part of a team of about 5 people. But we use this Yammer Marketing Ninjas group exclusively for all of our team communications. So we don't email each other. All of our day-to-day activity that we do is posted to Yammer. So if we're working on a new presentation and we want feedback, we post it to Yammer. If there's a new idea that we might have, we post it in this group. And the thing that's great about this group is that it's just a group of 5 of us, but when you look at the membership, there's actually 50 people that are a member of this group. They're not a part of our direct team, but they're people that are interested in the work that we're doing. They chime in, they give us feedback, they give us feedback that they're hearing from customers. What I hope you see from this list of examples here is that from the top at CEO Connection all the way down to Yammer Marketing Ninjas, there's lots of ways that you can use Yammer, from big groups all the way down to small groups. And when you're using Yammer, especially in a small group type of environment, you're allowing for information to be available. You're allowing people to understand kind of the projects that you're working on, and you're inviting people in to be a part of that. So hopefully that's insight that's helpful and that you can use for customer Yammer networks. So now I want to transition into Yammer and Office 365 and the work that we've been doing there. Hopefully you're familiar with this, but I'll go ahead and talk through our strategy, or at least our vision for collaboration within Office 365. We've really designed Office 365 to meet the needs of kind of diverse working styles. So whether you're a team that really wants to take advantage of a chat-based workspace, we provide Microsoft Teams for that now. Email, of course, is tried and true, so we provide that through Exchange and Outlook. Whether it's voice, video, and meetings, we provide Skype. Billions of people use Microsoft Office for creating content. Of course, SharePoint and OneDrive for site and content and document management. And then, of course, Yammer for enterprise social and being able to connect your organization, create a network with your organization. But the underlying fabric between all of these things is Office 365 groups. So a common group identity that spans across all of these applications. And so we want to provide this kind of complete solution that addresses, like I said, the diverse needs of different individuals and different teams within an organization, but all integrated and all with intelligence about one another. So you're not just working, so Yammer provides intelligence about what's happening in other places and feeds up into things like the Microsoft Graph, into Delve, all tied together with the security and compliance that our partners and our customers need, and that our customers and partners need from Office 365. I won't go into too much detail on this, but this is a great case study when you have a second to go look at Marks and Spencer. They have a really nice video that talks about how they've introduced Office 365 groups to their organization and how they've really mastered the ability to kind of give their employees some guidelines around what to use, but also giving room for choice in what people want to use depending on their situation and their preferences. So over the past 12, 18 months, we've done a lot of work getting Yammer to a place that it is in a kind of a compliant state, that it's an official part of Office 365. So there's a lot of things that have been happening behind the scenes that aren't really sexy things. They're not end user facing things, but there are a lot of foundational work that we needed to do a lot of plumbing that we needed to do to get to where we're at today. And we feel like we're now in a place that we can deliver on a lot of end user facing functionality that we feel like people can get excited about. And a lot of the things that we're investing in, again, are functions that really help people get work done and to be productive within Yammer. And so our Office 365 group integration with Yammer is just that. So what we're doing here with this is that when you create a new group in Yammer, you get that group is created in Azure Active Directory. So all the membership, all the permissions are managed within Azure AD. And then you also get the connected services with it. So the Yammer group will get a SharePoint site, a document library, a team OneNote, and a planner. So all pieces that, again, we believe that will help make groups much more productive within Yammer. And then down the road, we'll be providing a team calendar with that as well. So let me go into the demo here and show you a bit of what that looks like. So on my, can I see my screen? Can I see the screen?
Yeah, it's
okay.
The same.
Okay, just want to make sure. So I'm in Yammer now, and over on the left-hand side here, you see I have the document library, the SharePoint site, OneNote. I'm actually going to create a new group here, and I'm just going to call this Thailand partner, and I'll add a few people. Add Isaiah. I'm going to keep this group public. So when I create this group, you'll see it's just like creating a Yammer group. So if you're familiar with creating a Yammer group, there's nothing new to that process. What's happened here now is this Thailand Partners group has been created in Azure Active Directory. That group is there now. And then you see over here on the right-hand side, now I get that connected document library. So if I click on the document library, you'll see it carries through the group membership. It carries the name. If I had a picture, it would have carried that picture through. So now when I start uploading those files here, I also get all the goodness that you get from SharePoint with respect to DLP and e-discovery and all those things. So that's the connected document library. The SharePoint site, I'm not going to go through all of these. You kind of know what these components are. Yeah.
Can you manually connect those links?
Nope.
Sorry, I know you just said that, but I didn't see where you clicked. So
yeah, I just clicked on the document library here, and then
already.
Yep, and so it's automatically provisioned, so you don't have to do anything.
And it just goes to the root of your SharePoint. Oh, it made you add a SharePoint group.
Yeah, that's correct. So the question was there anything manual that I had to do? And the answer is no. So essentially, when you think about the old days, meaning 2 or 3 years ago, when people created a new project, they might, in conjunction with that, create a distribution list, right? So everybody's on the team, everybody gets all the emails. They might create a SharePoint site, and then within that SharePoint site, they create a document library, and then they create like an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of tasks. And then they have a OneNote where they're keeping note. All of those things used to be kind of these separate steps that people had to do. Now what we've done with Office 365 groups is that you spin up the group and you get all of those things together in a nice little package. Does that make sense, Jessica?
Yeah, doesn't look the exact same on mine, but it could be the order in which we made our groups. Maybe we started with SharePoint and then moved it to Yammer.
Well, I'll talk. what the first wave of this, and I'll talk about the different waves. The first wave of this is for new groups. So you'd have to create a new group to see this functionality. In subsequent waves, we're going to go back and connect up your legacy Yammer groups. So your legacy Yammer groups today won't have it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. So that's probably why you're not seeing it today. I'll also show, there's a couple other requirements that you'll have to have in order for this to work, but majority of people meet the requirement. In any case, there's some other benefits that happen as a result of doing this. So as a result of this new group being created, it also creates an address in the global address book. So in the GAL, so if I'm creating let's say I'm in email and I want to say Thailand, I want to send a message to, see, I have Thailand partners here. I can click on that and I can type a message in here and that'll actually get posted to Yammer. If I am in, let's say, OneDrive, if I'm in OneDrive, I've been working on a file, I can click on a file here. I'll just choose BI improvement. Share, Thailand partners, there it is. Again, type a message here, it shares it to Yammer, the link shows up in Yammer, they can click on it and go from there. The other piece that I really like is this, so this is our, this is just the client, and I'm not connected to this demo network in my client here, but if I click on share, I can also address from here. So if I do Yammer marketing, there's that Yammer Marketing Ninjas group I was talking about earlier. So again, so right from within the client, I can share, I can go from working on my PowerPoint presentation to sharing it to Yammer and getting feedback right away. So that's, any questions about that integration? The other piece I'll show you is when you attach a file. So if I click on the paperclip here and click on select from OneDrive, you see over on the left-hand side, I see all of my Office 365 groups. So I can select from any one of these groups and share a document from that group right into Yammer as well. I also have my OneDrive, so I can click on all my OneDrive or just my recent documents and share those right here from Yammer. And again, it's just sharing the link, and then if somebody clicks on it, it takes them to that location. So I'm going to go back here to the presentation. So I mentioned the waves. In this first wave, again, it's for net new groups. New public and new private groups in Yammer will be connected. The two requirements that you need to have in order for this to work is that you need to have Office 365 identity enforced, and then you also have to have a one-to-one mapping of your Yammer network to the tenant. So those are the only two requirements that you'll need. And then, like I said, subsequent waves, we'll go back and we want to make sure that any legacy groups are connected up. That's going to take some time. It'll happen over probably the next 3 to 6 months or so. But we'll definitely let people know when we start doing that work. And then future waves are focused on connecting up things like, if you're familiar in Yammer, there's a notion of secret groups. So you can have a private group that's unlisted, it's not searchable. Right now, Office 365 groups doesn't really have that notion, so that'll come later on. And then also connecting up things like external groups or external networks in freemium as well. In addition to that, some other things that we are going to be working on is things like files. So today, when you upload a file into Yammer, there's like this extra files space. We want to get out of any kind of overlap that Office 365 has. So eventually that file section will go away, and we'll reconcile it in the document library. Will be the main place that people would store and save files. In the meantime, our guidance for people is to store your documents in the document library, so Word, PowerPoint, Excel, so forth. And then for things like images and videos, go ahead and upload those directly into Yammer so that they render nicely in the feed. Same thing for OneNote. I mentioned the OneNote service that gets connected. You might be familiar with Yammer Notes within Yammer. We'll be deprecating that in favor of OneNote. So we'll convert any existing Yammer notes to Word documents, and then we'll move forward with the OneNote integration. And I mentioned the calendar as well. Some admin controls that we'll be introducing. So within Office 365 groups, there's naming conventions, so we will inherit those sorts of things, auditing and soft delete. And then a big request that we've had before is dynamic groups. So within this, what this will do is within AAD, you can define, let's say, that maybe you want everybody within the project management group. Anybody with a project management title to get dumped into the project management group within Yammer. So you'll have that ability to create dynamic groups. So if you have a certain job title or a certain function, you can automatically put those people in a certain Yammer group. So other things that are on the roadmap. So just to recap, I'm not going to talk through all of these things, but these are some things that have shipped recently. I showed you the OneDrive and Office 365 Groups file picker. You can also create files directly from Yammer as well. So if you don't want to leave Yammer, but you need to create a new PowerPoint document or a Word document, you can do that from within Yammer. We introduced kind of a new direct messaging interface. You might be familiar with the Yammer chat interface or the Online Now interface. We've gotten rid of that in favor of Skype for Business integration down the road. But in the meantime, we've moved kind of the private messaging interface over to the left-hand side, and you can access those if you're having a one-to-few private messages. Then you can see those all in one place. We recently made an update to images and videos that are uploaded into Yammer, and they show in a nice kind of a collage. If you upload multiple pictures, you see a nice collage spread within Yammer, and then videos render kind of fully across the feed. So we're always working on trying to make the content that you share into Yammer more engaging so that other people interact with that content. A couple other things, we did Azure Active Directory profile syncing, so we take whatever picture that you've stored in Azure and we sync that down into Yammer so people don't have to upload their picture multiple times. And this is what we're currently working on with some dates included. One of the main things that we've been working on a lot is edit posts. So when you make a mistake, you can click on edit. And then you can edit the post, and you can always see the version history of what that message looked like. We've got some customers that are currently previewing that feature, and we'll look to roll that out in the next few weeks. We're also working on a desktop application. So if you're familiar, if you've seen the Teams application, it'll be very similar to that, where it's kind of a wrapper around the Yammer interface. But we also want to make it such that IT departments can deploy it in mass. That's something that we've heard from a lot of customers, is that the existing desktop notifier isn't something that can be deployed widely, but the new Yammer desktop application will be able to. If you're familiar with connectors within Office 365 groups, we'll be introducing that into Yammer. I mentioned dynamic group membership. And then the next two bullets are really focused around analytics. We've got a lot of efforts around kind of beefing up the Yammer analytics and providing better data for people. The first one around the customer reporting dashboard is really focused on helping community managers have better data about what's happening in their networks, specifically within groups. But also being able to kind of highlight certain conversations that are happening so that they can raise those up and highlight those. Over on the right side, Skype for Business integration. Probably the first way we'll target this is via the mobile application, so you'll be able to see kind of presence on the mobile device. Click on it and escalate to an audio or video call from right there. It'll probably deep link into the Skype for Business app on your phone. And then we have a whole initiative around making messages better within Yammer. So things like being able to move messages from one group to another, or maybe from all company to another group. Things like adding rich text, so bold and underline and perhaps italics. We're looking at doing things like that, and perhaps even sharing messages from, being able to post to multiple groups at one time. And then down at the bottom, I'll highlight the stream integration. So being able to embed videos from Microsoft Stream right into Yammer and having them render right within the feed. So that's something we're actively looking at as well. Any questions about the roadmap, what we're working on, anything there that you have questions on? No questions online? Good. Okay. So let's see. I'll show you a couple of these things here. So this is just a product marketing group, but you can see what I was talking about with the images. When you upload multiple images, you get this nice collage feed. Again, trying to make the imagery much more engaging for people. When you upload a PowerPoint presentation, we have a nice thumbnail. We'll grab the thumbnail that has the highest kind of resolution, so that again, hopefully people want to click on and engage with that. Here's what edit post looks like. So hello from, where am I today? Malaysia. Oh, I made a mistake. I need to edit it. So I hit edit. I was in Thailand. Okay. So save. So now when I've made a mistake, I can see that the message has been edited. I click on edit and I can see the history of that message as well. Let's see. Over here on the left-hand side, I just want to show you real quick that these are this little globe here indicates that it's an external group. Again, an external group, like I was describing before, is a nice way to be able to invite people that are not part of your company to be able to collaborate with you within Yammer. So you also see the group header here. We're experimenting with some new designs for the group header. This is kind of the first iteration of this. But what we hope to move towards is being able for group admins to be able to upload a group cover photo. So hopefully giving a more visual identity to groups. So we'll be working on that. But this is kind of the first iteration of a new group header design that we're working on. Let's go back. Oh, I also wanted to show real quick. I'll go into the admin center here and just show you just to show you that I'm not lying, that this group, I'm in the admin portal for Office 365. When I scroll down here, you should see Thailand Partners. Here's Thailand Partners. That's the group I created earlier. So you can see you can manage this group at the Office 365 admin from the admin portal as well. So if I need to add people or remove people, I can do that right from here. Okay, so in wrapping up, like I said, just want to provide you some really quick tips on helping customers, or maybe even if you're a partner and you're trying to figure out how to better use Yammer within your organization, perhaps some of these tips might help you. And I mentioned to you earlier this notion of working out loud. And we believe that working out loud is one of the key tenets, key principles for people to be successful within Yammer, because Yammer is this different place. Like I said, it's a place where you broadcast messages, and you may not necessarily know who sees it, but you also never know who might need the information that you might have. And a lot of times when you say things like working out loud, people will say, well, I don't have time for it, or I don't know what to post. But in fact, a lot of people when you think about working out loud, it's really just a matter of taking the work that you're already doing today and moving it to a different place. So moving it to Yammer. So you might be emailing your team a lot today. You might be emailing other people within your organization today. But it's a matter of helping your team and helping your group understand the benefits of moving those conversations to Yammer so that other people can take advantage of the knowledge that your team has and the knowledge that your team is sharing. And so working out loud is really about, like I said, narrating your work, making your work observable. I don't know the schools are similar here, but when I was growing up, if there was a math question and I only put the answer down, a lot of times my teacher would say, "You didn't show your work. How did you get to that answer?" So that's a lot of what we believe Yammer to be very good at, is not just providing the end presentation that you created, but getting feedback along the way. How did you get to that end result? And so when you think about what could you share, what could you be posting on Yammer? Are there documents and presentations that you create? Do you schedule big events? How do you provide feedback to other people? Those are great things that you can share on Yammer. So this is an exercise that we do on our team, and I've introduced this to other companies, and I've seen it replicated elsewhere. But what we do on our team is we do something called your top three. So when we come in on a Monday morning, somebody will post their top three objectives for the week, and there may be 10 or 20 things that you have to do for the week. But we ask our team to concentrate on what are the top three things that by the end of the week you hope to have, you want to have gotten done, or you want to have some accountability for having done. And so we don't want it to be heavy. We want it to be really easy. And rather than doing a Monday morning status update for an hour where everybody goes around and they share what they're working on, and I'm just sitting there waiting for my turn, we use Yammer to eliminate that meeting. That said, we don't necessarily eliminate the meeting time itself. We actually have changed the meeting to be in the middle of the week, and we use the middle of the week meeting not for status updates, but as a time to ask each teammate for help. So we already know what everybody's working on. It's an opportunity to go deeper and help solve problems in that meeting time of our teammates. So think about this exercise as a way for you to replace a meeting and still be able to have a way for your team to know what's going on. And so the way we do this is one person will share their top three, and then another person will respond to the thread with their top three. Sometimes somebody else might chime in and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were working on that. How can I help you with that?" Or, "I know somebody else in the company that's working on that. Let me connect you with them." Mention them on the thread. So think about this as an exercise, sharing your top three. So sharing and getting feedback on a document. So I believe that we don't work on these documents, we don't work on these outputs in isolation anymore, right? You create a document, you create a draft of something, you want feedback from your teammates on it. So you create it, you share it, you save it to your document library, and then you create a link to it, and you share it right in line within Yammer, and then you say, "Hey, can I get some feedback?" And in this example, you can see Megan has posted this presentation, but she hasn't explicitly asked a specific person for feedback. She's posting it to Yammer and inviting feedback from wherever it might come. And that's one of the benefits of Yammer, is kind of diversity of thoughts. So you might, let's say maybe the traditional way was to email, a couple people on your team that you know. You're always going to get the same feedback over and over again. By sharing it in a more open place, you get kind of diversity of thought, diversity of feedback. And it's also about social intent. Again, earlier on, I mentioned that a lot of times people will take their personal social norms and apply them to Yammer, to their company network. And I'm guilty of this notion of being interesting and being, so first of all, it's not just about being interesting, it's about being interested in what other people are doing. And so I'm guilty of this. So on Facebook or on sometimes even on Twitter, I'm posting about where I've been, what my kids are doing, what I had for dinner, what I had for lunch, and I'm just kind of broadcasting out. But really, when it comes to business social networking, we want people to start to get interested in the work of others. So not just broadcasting, but helping each other and having that sense of wanting to be there for your teammates. So in this case, Megan has posted, she's asked for help, and now it's Nestor's opportunity here to come in and actually engage with her, right? So as a team member, don't just leave your team members hanging. Just take a moment to go explore and be curious, and then provide some rich feedback as well. So get interested. The last thing is think about creating a habit out of this. So I know it's hard, right? We're asking people to do something different that's out of their comfort zone. It's not something that they're used to. But there was an executive that we worked with that was really interested in getting Yammer to be a bigger part of the organization. So he took it upon himself to figure out how do I make Yammer a more important part of my day. And so what he did was he created a kind of a 3-step habit that he used to get himself on Yammer more. And so what he did was the first thing he did was after he had breakfast in the morning or after he had coffee in the morning, he would go to Yammer and say what he's going to do for the day, whether it was have meetings or if he was going to work on something. He would do that right after he had coffee. Second thing was after lunch, he would take some time to go through his Yammer feed and respond. He might respond to 1 or 2 messages or might like a few messages, but after lunch, that was his habit. And then the last part of the day, before he left, he wanted to celebrate something. So whether it was recognizing a person or celebrating maybe a success that he had, he did that right before he left. So the thing to think about was he anchored a new behavior. He anchored a new behavior to something he already does in his day. He already gets coffee in the day. He already gets breakfast. He anchored sharing new information to that. So think about how you can create a new habit out of Yammer. And then praise somebody. This is a great way to use Yammer. Share a success that a teammate has had. @mention or tag the person's manager. Let somebody know about some great work that somebody else has done. So when you think about how you might use Yammer, think about how you can use it to work more openly. Share your knowledge, share your information so that other people can leverage the information and knowledge that you have. Share successes and share learnings. Think about that top 3 exercise I mentioned earlier. And then empower employees to have a greater voice. This is one of the things that we see a lot within organizations is that people that generally didn't have access to technology or access to be able to communicate with the rest of the broader organization, Yammer has been great for things like that. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I don't know if there's any questions online, but happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for taking some time to understand where we're going with Yammer. Hopefully you understand that we have a vision, we have a mission. Yammer's here to stay. Hopefully you are keen to promote Yammer and let your customers know that Yammer's viable and that we're excited about where we're headed with Yammer. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.